I want to ask you about the news out of Gaza overnight, and World Central Kitchen now suspending its relief efforts there after 7 aid workers were killed in an Israeli strike. You wrote on Twitter this morning that Israel has killed more than 400 aid workers in 6 months. That's not an accident. You write no more aid for Netanyahu's war machine. Forgive me, 200 aid workers killed in the last 6 months. So what should the U.S. do?
Anna, what's going on in Gaza now is one of the worst humanitarian disasters in the modern history of the world. I mean, we're talking about the possibility of hundreds of thousands of children and others starving to death. And it's absolutely true that Hamas, a terrorist organization, started this war. But it is also true that right now, what Israel is doing is fighting not just Hamas, but going to war against the entire Palestinian people. And this World Central Kitchen horror is just one part of what the Netanyahu war machine is doing. And in my view, the United States should not be giving another nickel to Israel to continue this terrible war against the Palestinian people.
If you could sit down face to face with Netanyahu today, what would you say to him?
Stop murdering innocent people. 2/3 of the people who have been killed, the over 32,000 people have been killed, Anna, are women and children. This is inexcusable. And we're talking about 70% of the housing units in Gaza that have been destroyed or damaged. We're talking about 1.8 million people who have been displaced, thrown out of their homes. We're talking about people who today don't have food, don't have water, don't have medical supplies, don't have fuel. It is horrible. It is inexcusable. And it's got to end right now. And the United States cannot continue to be complicit in the horror that is taking place there.
So you don't want to see any aid going to Israel to help its defense?
It's not defense. Again, Israel has the right to go after Hamas, who started this war. Israel does not have the right to kill, to create a situation where they're stopping humanitarian aid from getting in. The result of it is children are starving to death right now. Do we want to be complicit in that? The answer, in my view, is most Americans, and what the polling shows us, most Americans do not want to be complicit.
This has also, of course, been an issue on the campaign trail. President Biden seeing a growing uncommitted movement, typically blue voters turning away from him, upset with his policy in Gaza, with much of what you've just laid out. Several states are having primaries today. Are you worried about November?
Yeah, I am. Well, obviously, no matter what, it's going to be a difficult election, and I'm going to do everything that I can, despite my disagreement with the president over what's going on in Gaza, to make sure that Donald Trump is not elected president of the United States. That would be a horrific disaster for our country. But do I think that a lot of young people of color, many people, I mean, the polling is very clear. The Democratic base wants to stop funding for Netanyahu's war machine. So if your question is it going to hurt the president unless he turns this around? Yeah, it will.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.